So the last year marks the least I have been into wrestling in a very, very long time. It's a combination of what I see as like a creative decline in both companies, marked by some absolutely gross fucking political shit that I don't even want to get into. But recently, that started to change. And the reason it did start to change was AEW. I've been watching AEW since the very beginning, and like all wrestling fans, I have some criticisms, but for the most part, I'd say if you were watching AEW at its peak, you were seeing some of the best wrestling week-to-week television that had existed in a long, long time. But due to a combination of different factors, like the company being hobbled after Punk left, as well as just a fairly languid and uneventful title run from Jon Moxley, I just kind of fell out of love with the company, and it's fed into this larger thing where I just wasn't enjoying wrestling the same way I used to be. And it made me sad, because if you've watched any of my deeply unreasonable videos, you know that I fucking love wrestling. But in the last while, it just hasn't been doing it for me, and I've also been watching sumo wrestling, which is a different thing that I also now really like. However, this began to change when something fucking crazy happened. Darby Allin beat MJF for the world title. The reason this is a big deal is because this is Darby Allin's first ever title run, and crowning a brand new champion in a wrestling promotion is difficult, because so often it's the chase to the championship that is the fun part, and then once a wrestler actually gets the belt, there's a lot of confusion and difficulty in how do you actually make a title run entertaining. And I would say AEW specifically is not great at this. Look at both Hangman's championship runs, as well as pretty much every face champion they've ever had. Darby Allin particularly was a very interesting choice to become the world heavyweight champion, because unlike a lot of wrestlers, Darby Allin's kinda little. In fact, he sort of has the demeanor of, I think as MJF put it, a school shooter twink, and he genuinely just doesn't really fit the vibe of world wrestling heavyweight champion. And so for a lot of people, myself included, he really had something to prove this run. Even as a Darby Allin fan, I was kind of looking at this run and being like, okay, I'm interested. Where are we going with this? And so, Darby Allin goes out the first night after winning his championship and has my personal first 5-star match of the year with Tommaso Ciampa. Just an absolute fucking barn burner, and okay, I'm interested. I start watching AEW week to week, and as I do, I start to notice all these different storylines. Like, take what's happening with Will Ospreay right now. Will Ospreay suffered a devastating defeat against Jon Moxley in one of the previous pay-per-view events. And the reason it was devastating is because Ospreay has just come back from this litany of career-threatening injuries, and Moxley's message to him was simple: you don't have it anymore. You are no longer a killer. You're not the aerial assassin. You're not even the assassin. You're just nobody now. Moxley then proved that by stomping the fucking life out of Will Ospreay. And so what does Will Ospreay do? Well, there's this moment where Will Ospreay loses against Mark Davis, someone he really should have been able to beat. And just as Mark Davis is about to injure Will Ospreay further, the Death Riders come out. John Foxley's H&M militia post-apocalypse cult friends. And they surround the ring, and they basically kind of protect Will Ospreay. And this results in Will Ospreay joining the faction of the person who had broken his neck. And it's this weird fucked up moment where it's like, John's like, I can help you become a killer again. And Ospreay, feeling like he's running out of steam, has no choice but to believe him. And there was this really beautiful moment between Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay where they had both lost their matches, and they were both sitting in the doctor's hall being like, is this the end for us? And it was such a beautiful little moment between two former rivals, and it was great. In the most recent pay-per-view, Will Ospreay, who has now changed his wrestling style to being more in line with the Death Riders' kind of submission grappling style, won his match. And afterwards, he goes to the medical tent again, where once again, he finds Kenny Omega. But now, things are kind of contentious. Omega's asking him, what are you doing with the Death Riders? How could you possibly side with those people? And there's like an interesting tension to it, like we're building to something. But just as he does, who enters the hall but the fucking Grey Messiah himself, Jon Moxley. And I'm watching these three guys and I'm like, okay, I am invested. I want to see where this is going. You could shake up these three dudes and throw them into a ring in any order, and that is a match I will watch. And it kind of hits me, fuck, like, AEW's main event level is so stacked right now. Like, it's insane. Like, you have those three guys. You also have Swerve Strickland. You also have MJF. You also have Darby Allin. You have Hangman Adam Page. And fuck it, I will say it, Brody King. I think Brody King is the fucking man, and I would love to see him get a run at the title in like a year or two. But then, like, it's not just them. Like, the women's division, which has historically been something that AEW has really struggled with, also never been more stacked. You have Harley Cameron, who is just a fucking joy to watch constantly. You have Willow Nightingale, who just brightens my day. I don't like faces. I'm a heel person. I cannot help but love Willow Nightingale. You have Tekla, the toxic spider, who's just not even gonna get into what I like about. She's good. She's good. And of course, then you probably have the biggest success story in modern day women's wrestling, except maybe Saya Kamitani, Toni Storm, whose complete reinvention kind of cemented her as one of the goats of women's wrestling.
I got the money, the fame, the power, respect. Only talk if they cut me a check.
And I just want to stop and say here, because people get so tribalistic about wrestling, I'm not saying that everything AEW is good. There's parts of it I like and parts of it I do not like. I think the promotion has a really bad habit of hotshotting younger talents before they're ready for it. I think you saw this with Sammy Guevara. I think you saw this with Wardlow. I think you see it a lot when a young wrestler comes up with like a lot of potential and the promotion is so desperate to be like, oh, this person's a future world champion, long before they've ever proven that that is a title that they can carry. Like, I love Bandito. I think Bandito puts on incredible matches. How people are unironically calling him a inevitable world champion to me is insane, because I don't think his character is there. And I think you see similar problems with, say, someone like Kyle Fletcher. Now, again, I want to be clear here. I think Kyle Fletcher is fucking phenomenal. I think the progress he has made in his character, in his persona since joining AEW is amazing. But I think his biggest like advantage right now is still, dude knows how to put on banger matches. But when you really start digging down into his character, it just occurred to me that when I was listing out main event wrestlers, I didn't even say Takeshita or Okada. That's fucking wild. Sorry, Kyle Fletcher. The thing I would love to see Kyle Fletcher improve is his character, because I feel like he's still clinging to this very kind of indie-centric sort of screeching heel persona. I am Kyle Fletcher, and I am the best, and I will beat you. And it's like, there's just nothing more to his character right now than that. And I think the dude's got aura, especially when I saw him come out at Double or Nothing. I was like, oh, we're doing something, ain't we? And I think if he is to ascend to that next level, he needs to kind of dig deep and find something real. He needs to find something that is like genuine, not to the wrestler, but to the person, and excavate that and use that as the drive for his character. Take, for example, MJF. MJF is like one of the most old school fucking heels you can imagine. He uses all the classic old school heel tactics, and he's just genuinely an absolute piece of shit and very convincing in doing it. But what is at the heart of that? And it's simple. It's something he's done a promo about multiple times. It is being this little Jewish kid from Long Island, New York, and being pelted with rolls of quarters because people are assholes. At some level, every monstrous thing MJF does, every piece of shit action he takes, it comes back to being that scared, hurt child wanting to prove that he is worthwhile, that he is good, and that desire just fucking amalgamating into this absolutely diabolical persona. That's MJF, and that is why he feels real. By the way, I sometimes see people say, is MJF overrated? I would say MJF is just about the most rated wrestler of the modern day. And so with Fletcher, I want to see him tap into something that real. I want to see him take that level of storytelling, come out into the ring, and not just put on great matches, but be like, this is who the fuck I am, and this is the kind of story I'm going to tell with those matches. I'd say another thing that AEW has been historically kind of bad at is the face title runs. I don't think there's any really like iconic face title runs that have felt good in the company, or at least that's what I would be saying right up until Darby Allin's most recent run. Now, it's weird to say that this was a iconic title run because it only lasted a single month. But I think a title run needs to be a story. A title run needs to be something with like a beginning, middle, and end that says something about the person who carried that title and the particular place they were in while carrying out that title run. And in the case of Darby Allin, he did something really, really unusual. Most champions tend to like have 1 or 2 matches a month and, you know, wrestle one big pay-per-view on top of that. And that's why they defend the title and move on to the next contender. With Darby Allin, he defended the title 8 times, twice a week for 4 weeks in just some of the most incredible matches I have seen all year. Tommaso Ciampa, that match, absolute contender for my match of the year. But as he's doing it, something starts to happen to him. Because Darby Allin, like, he's not the biggest guy. He's not the strongest guy. The only thing he really has going for him in universe is his toughness. He's able to take a tremendous amount of punishment and keep going. And this has been a part of his persona from the very, very beginning. He's kind of like a very pretty little mankind in that way, constantly getting hurled off things and taking these horrific bumps that really does make me worry about like the long-term viability of his career. But fuck it, it's his choice. If this is how he wants to wrestle, I respect the hell out of it. But that's the thing, like what I just said, that started to get real because that's who Darby Allin is. That is how he frames his wrestling. And so over the course of this run, he's having all these fucking incredible matches, each one of them like this just war, this struggle. But then something happens. He's wrestling Sammy Guevara. He has Sammy Guevara in the sharpshooter. And next thing he passes out because his body can't keep up with his spirit. He's losing it. And so when he has his rematch with MJF, you get this prime, perfectly in shape Maxwell Jacob Friedman against this beaten down, exhausted Darby Allin. And it's sad watching this because you kind of know what's going to happen. Darby Allin couldn't keep that pace, just like in real life, and he loses it. He can't do it, and MJF beats him. And it was like, fuck, does he ever capture the title again? Like, was this his moment? And like, this is something that MJF worked into a heel promo. Is Darby Allin like a flash in the pan? This is MJF's 3rd title win. It's Darby Allin's 1st. But can he ever go the distance to hold the title again, or is his body going to disintegrate? That works because it's fucking real. You know, there's a genuine commentary on Darby Allin as a person and how he genuinely puts his body at risk by wrestling. But it's the only way he knows, and it's the only way he's going to succeed. And it's sad, but it's real, and that's what I loved about this title run. In 1 month, it told this kind of self-destructive story of this guy who is smaller, who isn't as strong as everyone else, and so to make up for that, he fucking burns his body as much as he can. And so when he lost it felt like a fitting end to that story. And now it's interesting because what does Darby do? Does he continue setting himself on fire, just like blazing forward and trying to reclaim the title that way? Or does he have to learn a different style of wrestling? Is he going to have to rethink everything about his character, his fighting style, his in-ring work? And if he is, what's that going to look like? But the thing is, either way, I want to see a conclusion to that story. Because, as I keep saying, there's something kind of real about it. You know, there's something at the heart of that character, of that title run, that I felt. And that's why, for the first time in a long time, I'm excited to watch wrestling again. So yeah, wrestling is good. And I remember why I like it now. Okay, till next time.